All right, here we go. We're back at it again, guys, for another week. This is American Coin and Currency. This week, we're talking about sound money in 2025. We're covering a lot of topics around precious metals, digital assets, real world assets, and digital currencies. So, we're here for another week. Talk to you guys about what's going on with just kind of overall markets and how people can get involved and what are we doing, what are we looking at, what's our take. And we're here, myself, Dustin Lee, I'm social media here, and John Mady, CEO, founder, American Coin and Currency. How's it going, John?
It's going great, Dustin. How are you today?
That's great, man. Excited to talk about overall markets. We touch a lot about numismatics, precious metals, but we haven't really talked about digital assets as well. We can't forget what's going on. People are investing across the board here, not just precious metals, but of course that is our focal point usually. So let's what's going on your side? What's going on with American Coin and Currency? What's hot? What's not? You know.
Yeah, the last 2 weeks, last week we couldn't do a show because I was out of town on business, but
Mhm.
um, yeah, the last 2 weeks have just been crazy busy in
Mm.
a good way. Lots of people buying, a good amount of people looking to sell when prices got higher, and so that's just fantastic. I love seeing activity. And it just makes even a stronger case of why people need to own precious metals, but also graded metals. Like I was having this conversation yesterday with a customer, and he owns both bullion and graded gold coins, and he was in my office here talking, and I was like, now you see why I recommend you pick up, even if it's like $20 gold liberties, 1 ounce gold coins,
Mm.
back from the late 1800s, early 1900s, mint state 62, let's say, right around there. The way I describe it is you literally get the best of both worlds, because you're getting exposure to the metals itself because you have the physical,
Right.
but you also have a nice umbrella covering that up, being that it's graded and now that is a numismatic coin. So you're not directly tied to spot prices. You get all the benefits when it goes up, because you have that ounce of gold,
Right.
but you basically you're hedged a little bit, more than a little bit, on the downside, because that numismatic intrinsic value built into that coin protects downside swings.
Mm.
So yeah, so he ended up purchasing a bunch of graded, more than he already has, double eagles, and yeah, so that's been great. We've been busy there. Um, this time of year, the U.S. Mint, they kind of slowed down. There's only a few more items coming out that we're involved with. But the conversation today, I'm really excited to have, because a lot of people don't realize, unless you're in the space of tokenization, crypto tokens, blockchain, you don't
Mhm.
really know or see or hear what's happening, and what's this massive transition that's going on in our world, in the financial markets, which is tokenization of all assets, RWAs, real world assets, tokenized RWAs. It's
Mm.
gaining traction. 2 years ago, you'd be hard pressed to find anyone who, even now, when I talk to most people about this, I get that blank stare. Oh, okay. They don't get it yet. And I've been saying for a couple of years now, like, this will be part of our lexicon soon, where the word tokenization, and people will understand it. And my best analogy is to go back to the .com era, when the internet just had come out a few years earlier, internet for general use, and then you had these companies that were building businesses and brands on top of that internet. And at the beginning, some people didn't really understand, and there were even serious people that were saying, "Oh, that's just a flash in the pan." Um, Paul Kruger being one of them, an economist and New York Times contributor. I forgot what college he worked at, or one of the main ones like Stanford, Harvard, or Yale. And he was saying even back then, like, oh yeah, it's just going to be a flash in the pan. Obviously, he was really wrong. So the same thing is the same correlation I see with what is going on today, and
Right.
that is that and just so I can explain to those who don't really understand what it is, you're with blockchain. You have the ability to tokenize items and put them on chain. A tokenized item, let's say it's let's say it's this Greek coin from 400 BC. Um, this can be tokenized. An NFT is created. Think of that NFT as the digital title, and that can then be put on chain. So what they started with in the very beginning is like series, things of that nature that they've moved into real estate. But what they're looking to do, and the reason why uh, Wall Street has not gone full steam yet, is they're just it's all so new. BlackRock and Larry Fink from BlackRock was he was the pioneer of not the pioneer, but his BlackRock was at the forefront of bringing tokenization to Wall Street. And it's, when you think about it, it makes a whole lot of sense.
Right.
And the reason is because you can now take items that are traditionally illiquid, right? So homes, real estate, uh, coins, of course, high-end coins, collectibles, sports memorabilia, um, fine wines, just all these different items that can be digitized, can be put on chain, and then traded 24/7 worldwide. So this is once these assets are tokenized and put on chain, you have a whole new market, massive market. They're saying, I've heard anything from 19 trillion all the way up to $40 trillion
Mm.
worth of assets are going to be put on chain over the next few years through tokenization. So what does that mean? That means that there's going to be a lot more transactions happening worldwide. People, just doing what they would do with normals, whether it's debt instruments or equities or commodities, futures. It's the same thing. They're tradable. So it's just another way of you've probably heard the word, Dustin, securitization.
Yeah.
So securitization it's been around forever, but it really gained steam back in the early 2000s when they started securitizing mortgage, bundled mortgages, and then those mortgages were traded, and that then other instruments were created off of that to make synthetic bets, and the CDOs, and then you had what brought us to the 2008 financial crisis. In this case, you have assets that are, instead of what happened in 2008, which you had a lot of subprime mortgages, people that if you could breathe, you could get a loan and get money. That's not going to happen in this scenario because these assets have the tokens themselves have an underlying asset. So yeah, I mean, this is going to absolutely explode. And if you haven't heard about this before and you're just hearing about it now, I implore you to do some research because we're still way, way, way ahead of the game in this arena, because so few people are getting involved. But those who are getting involved at this early stage are setting themselves up to truly create fortunes, and that's what we're looking to do here with American Coin and Currency, and another business that you and I have been working on for a while called
Mhm.
𝗦ci𝘂, that's going to bridge the gap between the physical and the digital. And there's a lot to talk about there, but I kind of just wanted to give a you know, uh, broad statement on what it is, and how exciting it is, and there's no slowing it down. And this is the direction we're going in. Everything is going to be tokenized. And as you can see, those who are watching and listening, this article that Dustin pulled up, that's from yesterday or the day before. This company, 𝗦cie is the first company to go public through SPAC that is in the space that we're talking about. They're going to be the ones that are digitizing RWAs,
Mhm.
and it's going to be a very lucrative business endeavor for sure. So that's exciting. I mean, I know you know more about blockchain than I do, Dustin. You know
Mhm.
more about that world than I do. But with the little bit that I do know, get involved early because in 5 years, it's going to be a totally different game, and everything is going to be tradable, and you're going to be able to go on your phone, and you're going to have those that do get involved early are going to have their assets, whether it's coins, whether it's a graded Michael Jordan rookie card,
Mm.
whatever it might be, held at a secure depository, and then you get your digitized token, which you can keep in your wallet on your phone, and people can trade these assets worldwide, 24/7, whether we do it now or in the middle of the night. And what's great about that, Dustin, also is that there's is that it's instantaneous settlement. You're not
Right.
waiting for something to settle. This all gets settled instantaneous. So that is exciting. And I think the only reason why Wall Street as a whole has not just jumped in head first is because they're putting the mechanics in place early so that
Yeah.
they can either control it, well, control it and make the most amount of money by doing it. And
Right.
with this new administration in office, which is much more crypto friendly than the last one,
Mm.
now you're seeing more and more large Wall Street institutions, including BlackRock, run. I mean, run towards this opportunity of tokenization of RWAs. So yeah, I mean, this is an exciting time, and there's a lot of opportunities.
Yeah, it makes me think about how JP Morgan's standpoint was for a very long time was very crypto against crypto and tokenization and then, turns turns the cheek, kind of thing. And then years later comes to find out is that he's creating his own stable coins and he's, offering his investors, allocate 5% of their assets into cryptocurrency. And it's like, these guys, these guys are all investing in something that is going to be, you know, profitable for themselves, long term, and they're building these, payment rails, and they're building these, foundational layers for themselves to get in. BlackRock, it's Citadel, um, Gray, was it Grayscale? Like these guys
Yeah,
are, ETFs. Like, I mean, it's it'd be almost blindsided to not get into it, at least having a small allocation of cryptocurrency or digital assets in general, in
sure.
comparison to like, whole portfolio. But yeah, I mean, the RWA space is really important. I think that's the tokenization of any asset, and the ability for anybody to have commerce anywhere in the world, using a cell phone. Accessibility is important. Not everybody has bank. A lot of people are debanked in different countries that have regulatory frameworks that are not for digital assets or even just access to money in general.
Yeah,
So I mean, this allows especially well, first start with the digital assets, but real world assets in general. Like, um, my biggest thing was real estate was one thing, and then also trading cards. That I always thought those things were kind of illiquid in different ways. And then now with numismatics that we're coming up with numis, the ability for the younger generation to access a new set of a way to create profit or create revenue or create some sustainability around something that they didn't even think of, like precious metal themselves. No one's going to be carrying big chains everywhere across the world or traveling. And in crypto, it's like they're going to Dubai, they're going to Thailand, they're going, there's going to be some way where they're going to get stopped by TSA, or some scrutiny they're going to get, once to get to a
Yeah.
certain point. And having that all on your phone, tradable, like you said, 24/7. These markets in digital assets do not sleep. Um, you can trade anything in the middle of the night. Um, and that ability to give that, especially like the older generation who has all these, numismatic coins in their collections, and they're passing to the heirs, you know being able to create some value for that, without having to sell their coins. They create collateralization, they can loan out, create loans, even sell it as well if they wanted to. But I think that's a really important aspect of, unlocking a new generational wealth, and that's exactly what it is with digital assets. Like, it's been that transfer of wealth is the biggest transfer we've ever seen in this world. I've seen my personal self, like, having the ability for someone to create wealth out of nowhere. Obviously it's not, some of this, fast paced, trend, what's it called, high frequency trading. It's not for everyone, but like when it comes to like sound, top 20 whatever token digital assets, like those tend to be a little bit more institutional adoption. There's ETFs around it. Like you mentioned earlier about hash graph. These are becoming more of like a basket of commodities, more so, rather than just like, like a penny stocks, or kind of thing. um, so yeah, that's, I love the direction of where digital assets are, but the abstracting part of cryptocurrency and using the blockchain as a technology, that's been like the crux of what we've been, like, as an industry, trying to figure out. Like, it's the cryptocurrency is a byproduct of blockchain, of the ledger.
Mhm.
It really comes down to is the timestamps and the immutable, was it immutable ability. My transaction can't be reversed in different ways unless you like program it. It's like the smart contract part. Being able to, program certain parameters. If you don't, execute certain, tokens or asset on your end, and we don't have an agreement, then, that transaction is voided. Those are things that we can like program, and that's the beauty of the technology, not, and abstracting the digital asset part, is that you can create, smart contracts that we both abide to, that we both agree to. And if certain, time frames, if it was like, if it's collateralization at a certain point, if you don't pay this certain amount towards the collateral, then you may lose this particular asset because we didn't agree upon these terms. I mean, then those things could be, inputted at the beginning of the process, or it could be changed down the road. And that's the beauty of the technology, and everybody on both ends can see that those changes occurring. Accessibility, and that to
Yeah.
me is transparency. Is it's not about trust necessarily in some ways, and it's about truth. And when it comes to collateralization, or not collateralization, but when it comes to securitizing, obviously there's a trust factor in that sense. Like, who does offer these, custodial, and those things are obviously important too. Is that there's a level of like where the real world asset meets the digital part. Is that, for us, American Coin Currency, you built a reputation, you have rapport with your customer base. Is that trust is important.
Oh yeah.
Being able to offer those assets in the digital form. So that's another segue too, is like, where the real world assets meet digital. Who's the one that's offering these, assets to the public? That's the biggest, you know, $10 trillion question. Who's the one that's offering the permits, the licensing, and it's been starting with real estate, like you mentioned, and commodities. I know there's like uranium, and certain
Yeah.
you know
There's
uh,
debt instruments,
yeah,
treasuries
yeah,
for the
T bills, yeah. But that's like,
sure.
it's such a high level, in comparison to like what we're doing. We're like somewhere between retail and um yeah, somewhere a little bit above retail. So that's people forget like there's a huge unlock when it comes to retail. Um, you know, and there was the thought of it like being like clothing. I know there's this what we call digital product passports. That's more of like most products, and it's such a, people are like, oh, digital ID, and but it's, everything's going to be tokenized in some way. Like they're going to have to follow these products. In the digital product passport, DPPs is, from source to end of life products. So you can see, hey, these are ethical sources. Where was the manufacturing process? Where did they source? Like
Yeah,
everything from the source of how it was produced to the end of
yeah,
life, that you can prove, you disposed it at this facility. These people wrote it off. You get carbon credits if that's the case. Um, but when it comes to like blockchain, it's like if you purchased, this numismatic coin, it follows you through the life of it, and it does that with the serial numbers and the transfer of ownership anyway. So to me, it's already there. It's just how it's presented. I think it's pretty much the same. It literally is the same. It's just the database, how the accessibility of that information
yeah,
is some like, autonomous, cloud server essentially, like, and that's the part where it's like, is this information public or is it private? And that's like, and does it have to be on blockchain, or doesn't have to be on blockchain? And that's the biggest thing we've done in the last several years is like not everything needs to be on blockchain. And that's kind of like taking away from like the idea of like web 3, was that we're
mhm,
just like kind of like, shoving it down people's throats, like you have to have blockchain. And it's like, no, we want to we want to be an addition to the technology that exists, without
correct.
having to like force everyone to change everything. So I think that's where
Yeah,
global,
yeah. And
at.
Justin, based on what you're saying, I've thought of this before.
Mhm.
The large tech companies, Google and Amazon and Apple. I mean, they Web 2 enabled them to make so much money on Facebook because they're
Yeah,
profiting off of you, and
exactly.
so they're going to be, I would imagine, uh, really digging in their heels to try to thwart Web 3 innovation, because in Web 3 you own your own data. You
Right.
you you benefit from that instead
Mhm.
of the way it's set up now. So we'll see how that plays out. That's a different topic altogether. But I'm glad you brought all that up because again, those that aren't familiar and aren't following this space, you really should start paying some attention to it because it's going to change everything that we know of how things, how long till a person is digitized and
It's
uh,
there. Yeah.
and then whatever their output is through life, um there's different there's all kind. The cool thing about this that I love, Dustin, is that we
Mhm.
can't see what we're building now is going to be able to do 6 months, a year, 2 years from now,
Right.
because everything is changing at a breakneck speed and will continue to do so moving forward. um So we are the first organization that's taking uh, graded items. In particular, we're starting with graded coins because they all graded items have a unique numerical identifier on them, and that enables us to more easily create NFTs off of that, a physical, um, and tokenize it.
Mhm.
Something that you brought up that I wanted to expand upon too is, younger people entering into this hobby, this investment circle, however you want to phrase it. But
Mhm.
most of our clientele at American Coin are 55 and up, even 60 and up. And, these are people that, men and women that have done, for the most part, well in life. Their homes are paid for. The kids are out of the house, and they just have disposable income, and they love collecting. They love investing in historical items.
Mm.
So, my thought has always been, and this goes back for a couple of years now, because we've been working on this literally for a few years. That's how early we got into this game here with tokenization. But the younger people, 21 and up, 25 to 45, how do we bring those people into the fold, and so that they can enjoy all the rewards from collecting and investing in numismatic items, and different graded currencies and other things like that.
Mm.
um, Doing things the way they've always been done, just selling items, uh, doesn't resonate as much with that younger generation. So when I first learned about tokenization and RWAs, my just that light bulb went off, and it was like, wow, this is the vehicle we use to bring a whole new group into this industry,
Mm.
using technology, right? So, in particular, blockchain. So if I'm go back to myself at 25 years old, 26, when I was 26, actually when I was 27, I had already almost made $1 million. I
Mm.
did that by the time I was 28. Um, and there's a lot of people out there in their 20s making much, much more than that nowadays, um, or less. It doesn't really matter. I'm just bringing that up. There's a reason I'm bringing it up. It's not to brag or boast. It's just that, um,
Mm.
if I was looking back to myself today at that age, a lot of people, they don't want to have, uh, you name the amount, 100,000, half a million, $1 million in coins at their wherever they live. They don't have to worry about them, insuring them, uh,
Mhm.
just all the things that are involved. I can't tell you how many conversations I've had with customers where they've had their coins stolen. Somehow people find out that they have it in their house, and next thing there's a break-in and their stuff gets stolen.
Mm.
So what we've been discussing, how does that eliminate that from happening? Well, moving forward, when we have all of this set up for our customers, you can now take your graded coins, and you can submit them to us for digitization. You can buy them directly from us. You're not going to receive the physical, right? The physical itself is going to go to a depository that holds billions and billions of dollars in assets, very, very, very secure.
Mm.
So you don't have to worry about theft. But all your assets again are now going to be in your wallet. So this is now digitized. I have the NFT, it's in my wallet, and now I can, we're building out a marketplace to trade these types of items. But I can now use my phone, and I can buy, sell, trade. I can possibly loan. I can use that my collection, collateralize it, and then use those funds for whatever purposes I want in Web3. There's all kinds of variables there, and different situations that might occur. But my point being is that from the younger folks that I've spoken with and receive feedback, that's a major thing for them. They don't want to have to worry about having these things on their person, in their possession. They'd much rather know that they own them, but that they're secure, but that they can still at any time, if they want the physical, they can redeem their token, their NFT, and then get the physical sent to them. Same thing would happen with a transaction if it was sold. So that in and of itself is a big reason I can see more and more younger people and people who are customers now getting involved and wanting to digitize their collections to put up on, put up on the web. So imagine, Dustin, like my mind goes to, if we ever partnered with like a 𝗦cie𝘂𝘲 or an
Mm.
𝗦cie, and
Yeah.
now their customers as well, they're the ones grading these coins. They can use our technology to now digitize that RWA and as a service for their customers. Like, but
Mhm.
they that's never been done before. NGC could do that as well. It's never been done before, but it's going to be done because we're doing it. So it's a really an exciting time, and the utility and the use cases for this are many. And so now it's just a matter of getting people. Listen, when go back 10 years, 15 years, right? There was a time if you said will you do your banking on this, people would be like, what? No way. I'm not gonna do my banking on my phone. I'm not gonna send wires through my phone. I'm not gonna do, XYZ through my phone. But time goes by, it becomes the norm, and now you couldn't imagine not doing it, right?
Yeah.
So it's the same thing with what we're doing with the digitization of RWAs. It's just
Mm.
time for people getting used to the new paradigm, because we
True.
are in a paradigm shift. So yeah, I mean, and that's just one use case of why people are going to get involved and wanted to digitize their items. Um, well, yeah, I mean, that's just one off the top of my head. I know there's many others.
Mm.
Um, we have for legacy, insurance purposes, uh, ease of, one of the major things I see is that people don't like one time, two times. Like if it's set up for them to mail stuff in, FedEx. Listen, I ship millions of dollars worth of coins every month all over the country. Nothing gets lost. So, but I know that people are leery about sending stuff all over the place. So if you only had to do that one time, take your whole collection, send it to us one time, and then you know that it's going to a depository. You're going to get a monthly statement showing that your physical is here,
Mm.
and that but you have your digital on your phone of those assets. To me, that's a huge peace of mind. Just, for transparency, for numerous reasons of why you would do such a thing. But again, right now that seems like, wow, why would I do that? It's going to become the norm. And when that happens, Numiz is going to be at the top of the heap. Numiz is how that's spelled, by the way. And the website is, we had to make some tweaks to it, which is why we're not giving it out yet. But probably in the next show or two, once those tweaks are done, we'll give out the site so people
Mm.
can kind of see exactly what we're doing, how this benefits them. Because we're looking at this as a way of benefiting customers and bringing new customers into the fold, and it's a totally new way of collecting and investing in numismatic coins.
Mm. Yeah, that's huge. And I like the idea of like if PCGS or NGC decided to, you know, if it was their client as well, and then they have their own, storefront in Numis, that they would, have their, assets as well on there. It'd be interesting to see that. Um, and I'm sure they have a plethora of, even if they didn't want to even sell them, just to show them, that they
Yeah.
have this in their inventory.
Yeah. Yeah, and the graders don't sell coins. Like they make their money just grading.
Right,
This is a service. I could see that they partner with us,
right.
and then offer that on their line item services of digitizing your coins. Um,
True. Yeah.
it's
Yeah,
coming.
okay.
It's only a matter of time, I'm telling you. And so we love to hear from, if anyone from PCGS or NGC is watching and listening to this. By all means, reach out to us. Let's at least get some groundwork going here and some
Mhm,
discussions, because this is a brave new world of technology that's not slowing down. I was
mhm.
what was I looking at earlier about all these nuclear power plants that are about to start popping up, they're getting rid of all the red tape of building them because the power is needed for AI. And
Sure.
one other thing really quick, because I'm all over the place this morning. I wanted to bring up
Okay.
the spread on silver.
Oh yeah. Let's do
So
it.
excuse me. So silver is at it's at 49.11 by 47. The ask is 49.11. The bid is 47.77. So you're talking about a dollar and change. A dollar was at $30.25 spread. The reason why that stuck out, because that spread tightened yesterday and it was back to like a 30-cent spread, and then overnight it widened, it gapped, and that's a sign that last time that happened, we know what happened to silver. It shot straight up. So I'm predicting it now, um, while we're on air, that silver is going to break out here. You're going to see a run. The volume's increased.
Oh yeah.
The spread is widened. Yeah, I'm gonna predict $100 silver in the next 6 months. I personally think it might be less than that, but I think we're gonna see some parabolic pricing upwards on silver, and gold will follow. Other metals will follow as well. Um,
That's nice.
but
Yeah.
yeah, that's my prediction. I'm putting it out there right now that's what we're gonna see here in the near term. So uh, if you agree with that, uh, and I mean, anyone who's listening, people are listen. We have a lot of people that watch this and listen and then call in. Now's the time to start placing orders, because if you love silver at $49, when it hits 100, you're gonna be like, darn it, should have picked up some more. Or gold at 40, just went over 4,000 again.
Yep. It's holding.
All the metals are going up. I see no slowdown. There's just too many, and RWAs in and of itself, Dustin, is going to push asset prices up. And if you just think about it in a very basic thought experiment, uh, what causes prices to go up? It doesn't matter if it's soybeans or cotton or homes, right? What causes that to go up are transactions, not so much volatility, but uh, just
Volume.
bidding, bid, ask,
Yeah.
bid, ask, bid,
100.
ask. So as RWAs, excuse me, become the norm, and there's global trading in these RWAs, uh, prices will most likely get pushed up. Of course, they're not going to, just like anything that's traded, you get ups and downs. But because items that were traditionally, I'm sorry, I say items, assets that were traditionally illiquid will now be liquid. What's the real value of that item, that asset? I'm sorry, that asset. You know what I'm saying? And the market will dictate that. So I see assets across the board continuing to go up. We might have a correction here or there, but listen, we're in a state right now of the Fed just lowered rates the other day, right? Yesterday, was it? Um, they're
So
talking about more rate cuts, and I've even, I'm a huge fan of CNBC. It's on in my office every day. I'm watching it, and
yeah.
they have some of the smartest people in the world that get on there, and they're talking about markets, and a lot of these people are discussing that we might be looking at going back to really low interest rates here in the near term. By that, I mean next couple of years. Next year, I forgot which month, a new Fed chair is going to be put in. Jerome Powell's out, and that new chair is going to be handpicked by Trump. And if you follow Trump or politics at all, you know that he's been screaming about lowering interest rates, lowering interest rates, lowering interest rates. Well, guess what's going to happen? Unless we have some
And
massive inflation that thwarts that from happening, interest rates are going to keep going lower and lower. And when interest rates go low, that is literally fuel. Like that is jet fuel to a fire. Um, and we saw that with asset prices. When interest rates were almost zero or zero from numerous years. I think we're going to get close to that here, and we're going to see asset prices continue to go up. So if you don't own a home, if you don't have traditional assets such as that, you know, coins are an asset. Coins appreciate in value. I bought this particular coin. This is a Athenian owl. It's from 440 BC. It's in mint state condition. I bought this for like $1,800 a few years ago. By a few years, I mean like three. And I was shocked. I looked it up the other day. I forgot I had it, and I looked it up, and I was like, "Wow, these things are it's $5,000 now."
Wow.
Makes sense. Um, it really does make sense if you think about how much money has been created since 2008 that gets injected into the globe, by central banks around the world, that gets injected into the economies around the world. Money finds a home, always does.
Right.
So that's why you see just this constant flow of money and all these new records being broken, whether it's for a sports card. One just recently sold for 13 million. Uh, high end
Oh,
artwork.
yeah, yeah, I
There
see
was
that.
something I just saw the other day. It was an original. I forgot the guy's name. Excuse me, but he was the artist for Conan the Barbarian series, which came
Oh,
out in the 1930s. One of the original artwork pieces sold for 13 million bucks. You know, and that
wow.
was, I believe, on like a Weird Tales was the name of the magazine that came out that had those short stories about Conan back in the 30s.
Huh.
I just don't see a slowdown happening here anytime soon. So that's just my personal opinion. Everyone has their own, but yeah, there's just so much going on, Dustin. There's so many exciting things happening, and again, opportunities. Though people that get involved and actually pull the trigger benefit. Um, Analysis causes paralysis. Over analysis causes paralysis.
Yeah.
Um, so some people just sit there and think, maybe I'll wait for a dip and then buy, and then the dip never happens, and then you kick yourself and all that stuff. So I just say, you know what, pull the trigger, at least give us a call, talk to us. There's a lot we can do for you, especially now that we not that we're just getting into the RWA marketplace. We've been involved with RWAs for 3 years now,
Yeah.
um, but now we're at the point where we can start offering it to the general public, which we didn't in the past. That was only for institutions. So yeah, it's exciting. It's just exciting stuff. I'm happy that we're on the forefront of this.
Yeah, I agree. Definitely. We've been involved. I've been involved too. On my end as well. Um,
Absolutely.
yeah, RWA's has been. Yeah, we with the D store side, we sold the first digitized Opal on television, Discovery Channel, which is still being like resurfaced over time, and like it hasn't gotten the credibility I want to say for the next probably 5 to 10 years. But like being early in this industry is important. Like yeah, like there's all sorts of like collectibles, and these things are being sold, yeah, multi millions. There's so much money being transferred, like when it comes to digital assets or even just precious metals, commodities,
Yeah.
and then yeah, real estate. It's just it's everything's moving. Inflation. When it comes to the currency in general, is like everything's being inflated. So yeah, you can't be on the sideline too long. Everything's moving. Um, even if it's like buying your first home or buying a coin at a coin store, like it's gonna have value. The metal itself, it's valuable, plus the collectability, and then if you grade it itself, then it has its own certain gradability as well. Like having certain population for certain coins and don't even have a certain grade. So having that 70 grade um, can put you in a position of having something no one else has in the world. No one has, certain, if it's the Silver Eagles or the Sacagaweas or, some of the older, was it the 1794 or the dollar, like
You always bring that up. You love that
it's
coin.
it's the one, it's like it's the golden grail of dollar coins sold, like
It
for
is.
$10 million, like it could be an heirloom from your grandparents or something. They don't even know. And that's the beauty is that it unlocks a certain type of collectability. And everybody collects everything. I'm thinking we went to Dutch Bros yesterday, and at 3 p.m. they had these little pins. By the evening, they were gone. Like, and it's like, is there a value to it? Why would someone want to buy Dutch Bros to get this pin? I was just like, why are everybody crowded in these to go to Dutch Bros right now? Like, I'm leaving the parking lot. Like, and
Yeah.
but when it comes to collectability, it's like if you get a Happy Meal in the 90s, you get a certain toy. Now these people want them, like Cabbage Patch Kids or like, or I remember the Tickle Me Elmos in the in the 90s. You know what I mean?
I do.
It's
Yeah.
like, but people collect everything. So I
Well,
think,
I'll tell you, Dustin, that's a really good point.
yeah,
I agree 1,000% with you there.
yeah,
One thing, one thing among many that is very appealing to what we're doing here with RWAs and rare coins is that we are allowing people to have exposure again globally, and I can't express how important that is.
yeah,
So right now, right, we primarily deal in the United States and Canada. That's our customer base. If I'm selling this coin, or if a customer sells it to me, they ship it to me, vice versa. But if I want to sell this coin international, which I don't, because shipping international is a real pain. I mean, the
right.
paperwork alone can be really, really difficult. And then you
Mhm.
hope that it gets through customs and doesn't get snagged.
Oh my goodness, that's a
I've
nightmare.
had a situation before where I had literally the custom agents in France wanted a bribe for me for things for
What?
items to be released
That's
from
insane.
customs over there. They
Oh
were
man,
brazen about it. Like, no
yikes.
qualms. We want to get paid this, and then we'll release it. So what Numis is doing that's going to enable not only people to have more exposure, but also allow, in my opinion, prices to elevate is, once these RWAs are digitized, in our case again, coins, I don't have to ship this unless it's redeemed. This isn't going to get shipped. So ownership can transfer from person to person, be sold globally, anywhere
Mhm,
in the world. So someone in Taiwan right now who wants to get US coins or other, assets of this like,
uh-huh,
they can go onto our platform and they can now trade and have exposure um, to items that in the assets that in the past that they wouldn't be able to have exposure to
mhm,
because of blockchain the digitization of RWAs.
uh-huh,
So the whole not having to ship this from person to person globally, that brings so many more people into the marketplace, which the more people into the marketplace, the more likelihood prices are going to go up. So imagine if you're you know the age doesn't matter, let's say a 25-year-old gal or guy, and your
mhm,
grandfather passed away, and he had, you don't know how much he has, and let's say it's $500,000 in like graded coins, right?
mhm,
um Right now, what are you gonna do with them? You're gonna call me or another reputable dealer, and you're gonna try to sell these coins and get the most that you can for them.
mhm,
And I'm gonna try to buy them at the best price, so we win, they win, all that great stuff.
right,
But imagine if I could take that collection of my grandfather's and I can send it somewhere where I know it's safe. I have the coins, but they're digital, right?
Mhm.
They're on my phone, but I can still I can still sell them without having to ship them myself. Only one time to the depository to ship, or actually to us, and then we take care of the rest of it. But you're not having, I mean, if you have 100, 500 coins, which is not a terrible amount. There's people that have way more than that. Um, you're not going to
Right.
sell them all to one person. You're going to be shipping these coins all over the place. And if you're
Yeah.
using eBay, you have to pay eBay fees and this and that. What we're doing, that gets rid of all that stuff, and it now enables you to have those coins digitized, put up on the marketplace, and whether you want to sell them, or just have them on hold for one day, you want to list them on our exchange and then sell them. But now you're getting eyes not only from in the US, you're getting eyes looking at these from all around the world. And so that to me in and of itself is just absolutely game changing, totally game changing. Because
Mhm.
I want a global customer base. Always have one of that, and we'll have it one day because we're working on something right now that's going to enable that.
Mhm.
Instead of just being in the US and Canada. And the only reason, again, that I don't do more business out of this country is because of the shipping, trying to
Right.
ship these items through customs. And, you know, if I have to ship something to, Somalia, right? Like,
Good luck.
good luck, man. Good.
I mean, I
That's
wanted
not
to.
getting a person.
Oh,
Maybe it will. Nothing against Somalians, but
no,
you can fill in the country that
hard.
just
Yeah.
but being that it's all digitized and on the phone and in your wallet, it's just like any other crypto asset where you can pretty much take care of it that way. That's huge. The shipping, not having to do that is absolutely game changing. And I think we're going to see partners come into this space with us. We're going to see PCGS reach out. We're going to see NGC reach out. We're going to see ATMEX. I mean, ATMEX has been around longer than PCGS or NGC, and they're a great grading company, but they don't have that same prestige as PCGS or NGC.
Huh.
Well, guess what? If you're a grader like ATMEX, or I'm sorry, not ATMEX, like uh
CAC.
uh no, like there's ICG, and then there's
Oh, yeah.
the
Right.
Annex, ANACS. Um Annex has been around longer than PCGS and NGC. If
Right.
Annex or ICG is the first grader to offer this kind of product, um, the service, I should say, to their customer to enable them to get global exposure of their coins, uh, yeah, they're gonna leapfrog quickly because they're
True.
gonna be the first with that technology.
Mm.
So,
That's
you know,
yeah. That's. I mean, it's there for them to be a part of the fold, and yeah, if they're if PCGS and NGC doesn't move along, then they could be behind. But
yeah,
yeah, I'm excited. I know NGC and PCGS actually interact with our posts, so they
sure.
are paying attention. Yeah.
I
um,
know. I know they are.
yeah, I see them. Um, yeah, no, it's exciting. I'm excited about Numis. I'm always excited about digital forefront of like that kind of merge of technology and the physical. Um, that's always been like a huge game changer for me. Like you said, like it was a aha moment when you thought about it when it made sense. RWA is like it's everything. And yeah, we're at the forefront of that, and then being able to utilize custody, trust, your client base, as well as a huge unlock for the younger generation. So I think that's going to be a huge segue for the next phase of the technology. So yeah,
Yes.
I'm happy that we are working towards that, and all the time spent before learning about it now kind of going forward and building it again. So it's like a
It's all
ACD
coming together. It just
store.
takes time. And
Yeah.
the way that we're setting this up, as you know full well, Dustin, is that our major when we plan and we implement these actions, we have our the customers that's at the forefront. How can we assist? How can we help?
Mhm.
Educate. Uh, that's really how our decisions are made. It's not is it's truly. We had this conversation yesterday. It's not about making money. It's about being the first to the space
Right.
and being able to facilitate the this transition with our customers. That's really what it's about. That's why this is being built out. And of course, I mean, the impetus of this was to bring new people, younger generation into the fold of collecting and investing in rare coins. And this is going to do it. So get on board.
Yeah, I love that. I love the unlock, and yeah, I mean, there's so many people in the crypto industry, digital assets. There's a lot of people on the sidelines waiting to for ETFs or BlackRock to say, hey, RWAs, like they mentioned in um this post by CNBC. Um, and once these guys are already in the fold, it's not to say it's too late, but it's you don't necessarily need them to make announcements for others to get in. So I think for those who are on the sideline, do a little research real world assets, digital assets in general, blockchain technology. You don't have to invest necessarily in the Bitcoin or anything like that, but um, you know, being able to have that knowledge base, people like us, projects as well as others are going to get into it eventually. PCGS is all, I'm sure they're already, thinking about these things as well. But, who's going to be the first people to move? We're going to be the first movers. Nobody's really talking about numismatics when it comes to RWAs. I think that's important for us to really take a leap on that. And we're doing our job, and we got a huge rapport with ACC, and be able to unlock our customer base there. So
Yeah.
yeah, we'll just add a little bit from us here. So um, yeah, here's our information. Call us 561-310-8341. Email us unicoins@gmail.com. Our website coinandcurrency.net, and check us out on eBay. We're getting some uptick on sales, so that's been good. Excited to see that. And yeah, we'll see you guys on the next one. Hear any final words from your side before we wrap up for the day?
Well, yeah, real quick, the premium on Silver Eagles right now
Oh
is
yeah,
almost $10 over
really?
spot.
I've
Yeah,
had
I'm
I've
looking at AppX right now, and
okay.
if you
Let's pull
bought
that up before we wrap up here. Yeah.
if you bought 3 monster box, well, yeah, so let's say 1 monster box, 500 pieces, you're at 57.50 each. So, wow.
That's
Holy moly.
crazy. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad you mentioned that. Yeah, because I've heard that recently too. Is that people were focusing on older graded silver American Eagles um, as a way to load up on their silver. So
Yep.
um, yeah, I mean
No,
that's
no real parting words other than this. We're gonna have more discussions about New Miz. Just wanted to put a little teaser out there, and this gets in depth. So I know we were broad strokes with our descriptions today, but hopefully those that are listening kind of understood what we were trying to get across. And yeah, I mean, just do a quick search like BlackRock RWAs and
mm,
read about where this is going and how it's going to envelop. Everything's going to be digitized and
yeah.
and tradable, which I have no problem with. I mean, that's can't fight the tide, right? Can't
No,
fight the
yeah,
current. Is that how it said?
yeah.
One of those.
You can't fight. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, exactly. I mean, all needles are pointing towards real world assets, and yeah, I mean it's just there's a lot of money on the sideline. You might as well unlock it with the technology. It doesn't hurt anybody. If anything, it's a net benefit for everyone. Um, and yeah,
Yes.
we're at the forefront. So yeah, so we'll be here next Thursday. Check us out 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific. Every Thursdays. Check us out on our socials. American Coin Currency, pretty much on most major platforms. We're on, I believe, 7 streaming services today. So we're on Twitch, Kick, Facebook.
Oh,
Yeah, we're on
what are we
X.
not on? That's the question.
Well, TikTok and Instagram yeah, it's a little finicky, but we're getting there.
Yeah.
But yeah, so we're pretty much everywhere. You can find us, check us out. Yeah, and yeah, we'll have a segment about us, about Numis at some point when we have a little bit more to share with everybody, give a little deep dive. And yeah, exciting news to share with everybody. And yeah, we'll just leave it here, and we'll see everybody on the next one. And this is American Coin and Currency, Sound Money in 2025. I'll see you guys next time. Peace.
See you. Peace.
See ya.